Guys, I just got back from Salt Lake City's FanX Comic Con. It was 3 days packed with some great experiences. I got to learn a lot. I got to meet a lot of interesting people. I found love. And then I watched that same love get punched full of holes and then thrown in the garbage like yesterday's news. So let's go ahead and talk about that. Hey everyone, welcome back to Comic Crash. It's my little show on the internet where we talk about comic books and stuff. My name is Taylor Campbell. Thank you for joining me. Now, for a long time, I've always wanted to go to a Comic-Con, and I never really had an opportunity to do so. But this year, I finally was able to block out a weekend where I could go to Comic-Con, and I could go ahead and enjoy it to the fullest. So I'm going to go ahead and just talk about, the things I did at Comic-Con and show off some of the cool things that I found and learned and got, and it'll be a fun time. So Comic-Con was 3 days. It was a Thursday, a Friday, and a Saturday, and I went on all 3 days. On Thursday, I got to do some really cool stuff. It was only a half day, but holy cow was it worth it. We went to some vendors, we saw some really cool displays, some really cool exhibits, and the big highlight of that day was when I went to see Brett Ewan, who voices Mickey Mouse officially for all of Disney's projects. He sounds like a normal guy and then just falls right into Mickey Mouse just at the drop of a hat, and it is amazing to see. So it was cool to see the guy who voices Mickey Mouse, and I got to ask him a question.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
So one question that came to mind was specifically about Kingdom Hearts.
Okay.
So I noticed the feeling of Kingdom Hearts is quite a bit different than something like Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Absolutely.
So I'm wondering, how do you approach the same character from such like a vastly different emotional tone?
That's a great question. I think, Mickey is an actor. And so how I approach it is, there's a core Mickey that kind of is always my go-to base. But then within each of those properties or TV shows or video games, Mickey sometimes gets stretched a little bit here or there. And so Kingdom Hearts is a great example of that, where, if I can say, there's little ears in the room, but he's a badass for Kingdom Hearts. So it's just like stretching. You really just get into it and it's like, okay, I know who Mickey is. But in this game or this series, he's playing King Mickey. He's a warrior, he's a fighter, he's got a job to do. He's a little mysterious sometimes too. And so you just approach it in that sense. It's like it's acting again at the end of the day, where you just kind of put yourself in a different mindset. Like, Mickey's not looking for shapes, he's there to like kick some butt. So it's fun. It's fun, those opportunities to stretch. And each project delivers a little bit of a different realm from the plan.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And so that was Thursday, and it was just a half day, so we didn't get as much done, but wow, was it a great start to my first Comic-Con experience. We started off by going to a panel where we talked about the Superman and Lois TV show, and like how that's shaping the future of the Superman franchise and Superman mythos, and that was really interesting to discuss and talk about, and the moderators for that were fantastic. It really was one of my favorite discussions that we had that day. And then it was immediately followed by a discussion that I did not enjoy at all. When you see my intro, you see that I like to highlight a couple of things. I highlight Superman, Spider-Man PS4, Toy Story, Indiana Jones, and a Spider-Man Superman crossover event. Those are all things that I love, and I was so excited when I looked on the list and I saw they had an Indiana Jones panel to celebrate his 40th anniversary in movies. And I was like, so cool. I'm really excited about all things Indiana Jones. And we went there, and it started off promising, Like, they were talking about all the reasons why they liked Indiana Jones, and then it just evolved. All the panels were about 45 minutes long, and we didn't stay for the whole time. We stayed for about 30 minutes, but that's because a good solid 25 of those minutes was complaining about Indiana Jones. I guess they did bring up an interesting topic, which is that a lot of museums are starting to send stuff back to the cultures from which the artifact was taken. And they were talking about whether or not Indiana Jones could fit in with that modern sensibility. Which is an interesting point, but not the point of a 40th anniversary celebration of Indiana Jones. You get what I'm saying? And if it wasn't that they were complaining about Temple of Doom, or they were complaining about Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, or something else, and it's like, it was just really disheartening. There were a ton of people at this panel. It was packed. There were a lot of people who wanted to talk about Indiana Jones. There were a lot of people who were dressed as Indiana Jones. And all of the diehard fans you could see left early because it just wasn't worth your time. It was really disappointing. But that's okay, because we had another great experience later on in the day. We went to go see the voice actress of Minnie Mouse read a book for the kids in the kids section of the convention. And that was a lot of fun. Like, I almost forgot that she was a very talented voice actress that could do a lot of different things, because I was just focused on Minnie Mouse. So she narrated the book as Minnie Mouse, but then Lady Tremaine at one point needed to have a line, and she slipped right into it. It was like, whoa, right? She was so talented, and that was exciting. And then, we walked out and we saw her drive away in her little golf cart, and my sister's like, "Hi, it's Minnie," and then she turned around and she smiled and waved and called out to us and was like, "Oh, that's cool! Whoa!"
Cinderella was immediately summoned back to Lady Tremaine's room.
As punishment,
Her stepmother said,
you will wash the windows, scrub the terrace, and sweep the halls.
meanwhile, in another part of the kingdom,
That was fun. And then afterwards, we got to go to a screening of a Galaxy Quest documentary. Now, you can see this documentary. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's about how Galaxy Quest built off of Star Trek's legacy, how it created its own legacy, how the fans interact with it, what the actors and the producers and everyone thought about it. It's pretty cool, and a really touching tribute to Alan Rickman as well. But this version of the documentary that we saw at the con had 30 more minutes to it, and it was so cool. It was so funny. I loved the documentary. I mean, I love the movie too. The movie is easily my favorite Star Trek movie, and unironically, one of my favorite sci-fi movies. Of course, having Buzz Lightyear be the main character in it was definitely a help in getting my opinion positive on the film, but I love the movie. If you haven't seen Galaxy Quest, you should go out and see Galaxy Quest. Now, Saturday was the big day. They always save the big stuff for the end of the convention, right? And man, I was so excited about this. I made my own Superman costume, and I put a lot of work and a lot of love into it, and so it was really rewarding to go to the convention on Saturday in my homemade Superman costume and get such a positive response. These days, there's not a whole lot of people who dress as Superman for conventions, so I kind of did stand out, wearing the bright blue jumpsuit and the bright red cape and the belt and the shield, and it was so cool. There was a big DC Comics costume meetup, and I got to go there and met a lot of really cool people, some really solid people. And then afterwards, they had a DC versus Marvel thing, and that was a lot of fun. Met some more great people. Saturday was a good day. Went through the convention floor, cleaned up. I ran into an old friend, my old friend Mark. He was with me on my missionary trip, and we became really good friends after that, and then, we tried to stay in contact, but, sometimes it's hard to stay in contact with long distance friends, and he was very long distance, but he somehow made it to this convention, and that was so cool. Oh, it's always great to run into old friends, let me tell you. Now is the part of the show where we take a quick break so I can go ahead and show you all of the cool things that I got. Because it's a convention. I got a lot of cool stuff. Like my little Toy Story quilt here. Yeah, my mom made it for me. Alright, so first things first, we have this Batarang. It's very fuzzy. Oh, nope, that's not fuzzy. There it is. That's what it looks like. So that was pretty cool. Throws pretty well too, see? Wah. And then they have a lot of Lego booths. So I was able to pick up quite a few Legos that were, pretty fun Lego minifigs. By way of comic books, because it is a comic convention, I'm going to pick up some comic books. I got Action Comics 1027, but it's the Jim Lee variant. It's a lot of comic book for your money. And it's the cover that has Batman and Superman on it, making it the best version of this book that you can get. World's finest, people. One of the movie theaters was giving this out for free, Secret Origins of Green Arrow and Speedy. So that was pretty neat. This is my first Green Arrow comic, so, Secret Origins isn't a bad place to start, I guess. This was cool. I found this in a dollar bin. Super Soldier. This is from that weird time when Marvel and DC were the same company and they mushed their characters together. Ah! So cool! I was so excited to find this. I'm unsure if there's more in this. I don't know if it ever went past as number 1 issue. But this was such a cool find. I'll have to talk about this later. Now, I already had Superman number 1 from the New 52, but I was able to pick up Action Comics number 1, Action Comics number 52, and Superman number 52. And that rounds out my... Well, it doesn't round out anything. What it means is that I now have the first and last issues of Superman's New 52 runs. So, that's pretty cool. I was pretty excited and happy to, get that. Maybe that should be my next collection, see if I can get all of the New 52 issues. On the topic of things I've been searching for a while, I found some Toy Story comics. These are from the Boom Kids lines, and these were the only ones I could find in the whole convention, and believe me, I searched. Now, I already had these issues, but these are the variant covers that I did not have. So that was pretty neat to find. And remember that place I said was giving out free comics, that movie theater? Well, they continued to give me free comics. Just all of that. Got a ton of stuff in there. Got some Harley Quinn, got Cloak and Dagger in there somewhere. There's an X-Men index on the top of this. Yeah. I mean, I don't know most of these titles actually, but I was looking at the art and the people writing and drawing these, and it's like there's some big names in here. There's some Marv Wolfman. It looks like there's Jack Kirby that I've never heard of before. So those will be fun to go through this bunch. Now there were a couple more items of note that I did acquire, and this is where that heartbreak from the beginning of the video comes in. Now where these come in is that they had the kids section of the Comic-Con. I mentioned it earlier in the video, and there they had this button making machine where you could take any picture and you could turn it into a button, and you can get it and you can put it on your backpack along with the rest of your buttons. Woohoo. Now where I got the pictures for these are pretty responsible places. Toy Story 1, I got that from a movie theater handout. The Spider-Man came from one of those old comic book previews magazines. And this Frozen one did come from a book, so that's that's not my favorite thing ever. However, that book already was missing its cover and was already punched full of holes, so like it was going to get thrown away by this point anyway, so I figured might as well get that. But the problem comes from how the booth was set up. There was this table, right? And this table was just stacked with different comic books, all for the purpose of punching holes in them so you can make these buttons. In that pile of comic books, they had a couple of Marvel DC crossover books. They had one that was a crossover with Robin and Jubilee from the X-Men, and Superman and Spider-Man. Now, if you pay attention to my intro, you'll see that I like to highlight a couple of things. I have Superman in there, Spider-Man PS4, Toy Story, Captain America, I forgot to mention him the first time around, Indiana Jones, and a Superman Spider-Man crossover. Because those are the kinds of things I love. And I found this, and I didn't have this. It was like from the 90s. It tied into their big Marvel vs. DC event. Do I have that book? Could I show that off? I do have that book. This book. It tied into this book. Right, this really cool Marvel DC book. This was fun. This was a fun crossover. It's been a minute since I read this. I want to keep this out here. I'm gonna go back to that. They had this book and it was in good condition. Like the staples were in place, the pages were all in place, and it just killed me inside to see it on this table. It's like kids are just going to take this and they're just going to start punching holes in it because, you know, they can get Superman and Spider-Man in the same panel at the same time. And that just didn't work for me. So I picked up these comics and I went to the person who was running the booth and asked if I could go ahead and just like take them because they were just going to junk them afterwards anyway. And these are like, you know, it's a Superman Spider-Man crossover. I love that kind of stuff. And then she said, no, we're not allowed to give them out to people. You're not the first one who's asked me about it. You're not going to be the last one. And yeah, that was that. Cool. And so, heartbreakingly, I took the books, I put them back on the table, and I left before I changed my mind. So that was disappointing. And I mean, I looked through it just in case, and there wasn't a way I could get Spider-Man and Superman in the same image, which sucked a little bit, but what you gonna do? So that's the story of my heartbreak. Now let's get back into the regular video, like the fun, happy part of the video. And then I'm going to shut this off. But one of the most important things I got to do on Saturday was I got to meet a writer-artist combo, Andrew Knopp and Sal Velluto. Now, these guys are fantastic. Sal had worked on, you know, Marvel and DC comics, like very prominent ones. And Andrew Knopp had been writing comic books for a long time. Now, I heard about these guys because I got a lot of news through a mutual friend about a book they were doing called Pillar of Light, which is a religious account of Joseph Smith and his first vision that helped start the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Now, I was talking to Andrew about a comic book that he was writing, and I talked to him about a comic book I'm writing. Guys, I don't know if I told you this, I'm writing a comic book, so, you know, stay tuned for news about that. But he gave me some really good information on how to publish my book, and like Sal gave me some really good information on like storytelling, and it was a cool experience just talking with those two and learning from these masters of the craft. And so that was my experience at Comic-Con. It was so fun. And I recommend to pretty much everyone to go ahead and give Comic-Con a try. There's definitely something for you. Like this one, it wasn't just, you know, for people who were interested in comics exclusively. I met a couple of people who were there to see like Karate Kid stuff. They had a big MASH panel that my parents were pretty interested in. So Comic-Con is for everyone. Go ahead and check it out next time it comes around near you. And so that's what I have to say on that. Now tell me what you think. Have you gone to Comic-Con? What was your experience like? And what tips and tricks would you recommend to people who have never been to a Comic-Con before? Go ahead and put it in the comments down below, and until next time, thank you for joining me. Have a great day, and remember to always be your best self.